Buster Keaton. If you were to ask a group of people to name a silent film comedian, they would probably either have no clue what you were talking about or say Charlie Chaplin. Or maybe, if you were lucky, say Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton was a 1920s comedian, actor, filmmaker, born in 1895, starring in movies like The General, The Cameraman, 1 Week, which is my personal favorite, and many, many more. Like many stars during this time, Keaton did all his own stunts. What stands out to me about his stunts is the daringness of it all. One that stands out is when a 4,000-pound wall fell on him as he stood below it, hoping to stand in the exact right spot so he wouldn't be hit, but ended up going through the window. People warned him not to do it, believing that this would be the stunt that killed him, but he managed it anyway. And even if we were to ignore his many, many impressive stunts, he was still known as the Great Stone Face. Most of his movies, he wears a blank expression, not showing any emotion, which in the age of silent cinema makes it harder to be a comedian. But he didn't anyway through insane body language. Buster Keaton's career, however, took a sad turn when he was signed to MGM in 1928 and lost his artistic independence, one of the many things that made his movies standing out, causing him to turn to alcoholism. But why should you care about Buster Keaton? I mean, he's been dead since 1966, before many people's parents were even born. And silent films can't be as entertaining as films full of sound and action. Not to mention he stopped appearing in films after he was fired by MGM in 1933. The truth is, in my opinion, Buster Keaton is insanely underrated, and many times swept under the rug as a contender for one of the great silent film stars, ours in preference for Charlie Chaplin, Greta Garbo, or Clara Bow, all of whom are great in their own right, but whose stunts and stories don't shine on screen like Buster Keaton's does. I had never even heard the name until I was in my 11th grade film class and shown Sherlock Jr. This led me down a rabbit hole of why I hear silent stars' names many times at Academy Award or mentioned by directors as influences, but rarely ever hear the name Buster Keaton. So for years I made it a job to watch all of his films I could get my hand on, which wasn't many due to the fact that most of them came out in the 1920s and are hidden behind a paywall. However, every time I had the pleasure of watching one of his films, I was blown away by the stunts. In the age of AI and CGI, where it's hard to tell what actors are actually doing versus what is generated, it was refreshing to watch, knowing that everything shown on screen was real stunts, no matter how nerve-wracking it was. As for the crew on films back then, Buster Keaton is seen as an icon because he is one. He revolutionized film with his insane stunts and deadpan expression as a comedic actor, earning himself a play as one of the greatest stars to come out of the silent era of film. Though many people don't know the name off the top of their heads, they do know the stunts. In my opinion, Buster Keaton is overlooked, as I've said before, for other comedy stars like Charlie Chaplin, a name we all know and love. However, even if he isn't as known as he once was, he still leaves an everlasting legacy of daringness and insane stunts. For all intents and purposes, he was the greatest stuntman to ever live. Yes, this includes Mission Impossible star Tom Cruise. Not to mention, all of his films are full of entertainment and funny moments, even if his face never changes, and he remains monotone, showing us that funny expressions don't make the joke, the acting itself does. In a time before color and sound in cinema, Buster Keaton told vivid and funny stories without ever cracking a grin, and that legacy will be everlasting.